Coming up, nonprofits, OnlyFans, mental health, and becoming a yogi. What's up? I'm Dave, the Military Millionaire, and if you're new to the community, welcome. And make sure you check out all our free content. We've got the podcast, we've got the Facebook group, we've got Instagram and TikTok, and I don't know, everything else, the blog, and yada, yada, yada. And for those of you who are at the level where you're ready to take things super, super seriously, we do free strategy calls. So I'll drop a link down below for the War Room Mastermind. We do strategy calls to help you guys out. So happy to chat with you. But today's guest is Abby Rose, who was the first female Marine Corps artillery cannoneer, one of three, but then the first to go on and be a team leader, has launched 2 nonprofit organizations, companies. She crushed it on OnlyFans. She's starting a yoga career, and she's recently begun her journey to actually achieving financial freedom after realizing that having that high of an income doesn't necessarily matter if you don't manage your expenses. And so we're going to dive through a lot of ups and downs. This is a different episode than a lot of the ones we've talked about because all of the different entrepreneurial tracks that we're discussing here are different, and yet it's really cool to follow along and enjoy this conversation, the journey. And I think this is a really good conversation. So make sure you stick it out to the end so you can hear how it goes. And without further ado, Abby Rose. Abby Rose, welcome to the show today. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm glad we're finally getting to do this. We tried to record like a year ago, I think. And I don't remember, one of us got sick and then we never rescheduled. So
and we finally made it.
I know I'm the most chaotic person in the world when it comes to scheduling, which is why I hired someone to do it for me now. It's great. All right. So I always jump like to present day and ask a question about like what's going on in life. And I saw you posting yesterday about all the fun you're having hunting for a house. So tell me, how is the Houston market doing right now?
So, yeah, I mean, we thought that everything was going to be kind of smooth sailing. We kind of didn't really think anybody was looking for houses right now because of the market, but apparently we were wrong. So everyone is wanting the exact same house that we want. But there is kind of also limited. I am kind of spoiled, and I do want a pool. I really want to have my family grow up with a pool and stuff like that. So that limited our options quite a bit. But actually, yesterday we were about to put an offer on our Plan B house. And then right when we were like about to get everything going, someone called our realtor saying that the house that we originally really, really wanted that got taken from us got put back up on the market. So we're in the process now.
Awesome.
Of making this happen. And that house that we really liked is $50,000 less than the Plan B house. So everything happens for a reason.
No, that's a win. I love it. It's interesting to hear that from like the shopping from a home perspective, because when you watch the media, you'd be convinced that the real estate market's falling out of the sky and nobody can buy houses, nobody can sell houses, and da 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 da. That just, I mean, there are markets in the country where it's nobody can afford a house right now, but really that's not the main problem, at least not in the middle of the country. It's the fact that we don't have enough inventory. So like the people that can't afford a house are fighting over it. We still got things flying off the shelves here, and it's interesting to see the markets like, oh, nobody can afford a house. I'm like, really, a 3% and a 7% interest rate doesn't make that big a difference on a $100,000 home. So we're still doing fine. So, well, cool. All right. So let's get a little bit of the backstory. Like who is Abby Rose? I know you joined the Marine Corps. Tell us, well, you know what? I'll just let you tell a little bit about your story. Bring us up to present day.
Yeah, so I'm just a crazy bitch that's doing life. I joined the military because I wanted more purpose to my life, and I was living it too. And I was living in California on the beach every day, being a personal trainer. Everything was perfect, and I just wanted to go fuck up my life. So I decided to join the Marine Corps.
It might be the best reason I've heard for joining the Marines.
Right, I was bored and just decided to do it. Didn't know shit about anything.
That's like the epitome of the well, I had a really great boyfriend, but I really wanted something toxic. It wasn't exciting enough.
Yes, that's exactly what it was like. But I am glad, those toxic boyfriends teach you a lot about yourself and about life. So you got to have a couple toxic boyfriends.
Oh, we've all been there. Yeah. Well, maybe not. I haven't been with a toxic boyfriend. Anyway, we're having divorced, so same thing, same but diff.
So So yeah, it was good. I mean, I joined in 2017. I was 24 years old, so a little bit older than most people when they join the military, which I'm really glad because I feel like I didn't get quite as brainwashed. I'm not as like raw as a lot of people because when you join when you're 18, you're easily persuaded to do whatever they say and how that way of thinking, and that culture of thinking, which obviously that culture is really needed to do what the Marine Corps needs to do, which is to kill people. But as far as like a daily day-to-day life out in the regular civilian world, it was good for me because I was able to kind of separate the two. Like I knew that there is a regular civilian world out there, and that this is just its own little world that we have to be in for a certain period of time. So yeah, it was really good.
Well, that probably aided your transition out of the Marine Corps too. But you're not even going to touch on it, so you're going to make me drag it out. What did you do in the Marine Corps? Because you were the first C's.
Yes, I was one of 3 women to join as an 0811, which is like an artillery cannoneer with a big cannon. I weighed 115 pounds and I was carrying 100-pound rounds on my shoulder. So it was pretty cool. I definitely loved being out in the field and working and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a pretty badass job. It fucked my body up, but I'm like, you know what? You cannot get experience like that really anywhere. So I'm really glad I did it. It was a good experience for sure.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of places you get to pull string go boom on 777.
And it's such an adrenaline rush. Like sometimes I watch videos of it, I'm like, holy shit, was that actually me? Like I can't believe it. I wish I would have done it now while I'm a little bigger and a little more sturdy and ate like you can't really eat proper. You can, but we weren't really taught proper nutrition, and I just ate at the chow hall to save money. So my gains weren't as gainy there then, but yeah, I was like, it was a badass job, that's for sure.
MREs are the best nutrition.
Yeah, MREs are so good to help you perform.
It's interesting that you say that because, when you're in the military, everybody's convinced that like, oh, this is the most elite training and the most, whatever. And when I first started training for endurance stuff and doing like half Ironmans and whatever, and I hired a coach, basically the first thing he did was like untrain everything the Marine. Because like in the Marine Corps, I remember asking this guy who ran, the only guy that I ever had teach me anything about running was First Sergeant, now Sergeant Major Fay. And that man is like, he's a sub 2.5 hour marathoner. He's a pro triathlete. He was like one of the fastest promotions to Sergeant Major in Marine Corps history.
Wow.
Like he's a stud. And he gave us at career course, he gave us a class on running and it was legit. Like taught us how to, barefoot and like figure out what kind of shoes. I mean, it was legit. Outside of him, every other time in the military, I was like trying to get better at running. People were like, well, you just run more. You just run faster. Oh, boots and utes is great for you. And I'm like, this is not helping anything. Like this is why everybody's hurt. Nobody just spends the time learning about basic nutrition and running. And yeah. Also,
cigarettes in Copenhagen really help you though.
I know my best PFT was after a night of drinking because I found out at 11 we were running the PFT and I was in a medical battalion. So I managed to get myself an IV at midnight and I ran it was great. I felt wonderful the next day. I was like, I need to IV. I was in Okinawa, 19-year-old Dave. Ugh.
Yes.
Super.
Love it. I can see it now.
The guy reeking of vodka passing you. Yeah. I think I ran.
You haven't really ran a PT if you're not throwing up halfway through.
Yeah, that was my first and only sub 20-minute 5K. So, what a mess though. I was, yeah. So I was Motor T, and ironically, so I know how busy y'all's schedule is because in Motor T world, basically once you get to Staff Sergeant Gunny, they're like, you're not really a staff NCO unless you've been attached to an RD unit because the RD units are like the most ridiculous schedules you could possibly have, especially as a Motor T guy, because all your trucks are breaking all the time. And, and so, yeah, I can appreciate the fact when you say I like the field. It's like, well, you probably spent more time in the field than home. So that's a legit statement.
And I had my B billet or whatever as I drove the 7 tons with the howitzer attached. So I worked a lot with Motor T. I love driving. They called me Leadfoot Lily. I was like, I fucking drove that thing.
7 tons
I
are
love it.
great. That was my favorite truck in the Marine Corps for sure.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
Yes. That's another thing like you can't do now, that you kind of miss.
I know. Yeah, well,
like I can't drive a big truck
I
like
have
that
seen
now.
us. You can find those things. I have a friend
But
with
I'm
some
not willing to
five
pay the
tons.
gas.
Yeah. If you want to pay 3.5 miles a gallon in diesel, you be my guest. I
Exactly.
think 3.5 is what the 7 ton gets. The Humvees get like 6, so it's great. 6, 7.
Yeah.
They're terrible. They're the worst. Okay, so all right, so talk to me about the Happy Bean Project. I know, correct me if I'm wrong timeline wise, but I believe you started this while you were still active.
Yes. Yeah, I started in 2019 while I was still in the military, and I just started selling bags of coffee online. And I was like just raising money, and I would donate it to NAMI, which is like a place that helps people with mental health issues.
Cool.
The Marine Corps is when I really started realizing that I have severe mental health issues. I kind of already knew, but I didn't really know like what mental health meant. So it was like I knew something was wrong with
It's
me, but I
Starbucks.
didn't.
Mental health is Starbucks, right? You
Yeah.
just get frozen. I don't know.
I'm like going with it. Yeah, totally.
I have no idea
Like a brain freeze. But yeah, and then my brother had like addiction problems. He was on the streets, and I just had a big heart for helping people that struggle. So I started selling those coffee bags online, and then donating the profits to NAMI. And then I was like, you know what? I want to get a little more hands on. So me and my buddy Garcia, we brought the coffee and made it in like this 100-cup urn thing, and we went to where homeless people were in North Carolina, and we just passed them out coffee. And then we made like a little video of it, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, like I'd love to come volunteer. That's the great thing about the military is like a lot of people want to get involved with that type of stuff. Because everybody's so bored of playing video games in the barracks. So yeah, I was like, okay, let's go do this. So we started going out like as often as we could, bringing them coffee, and it started growing where we started setting it up in other states. So we were in like California, we were in Philly, we were in, I think we were setting up in Denver. I think we got up to like 6 states. And then COVID happened, and I was in Norway when COVID happened.
Nope.
So I kind of just like shut the whole thing down, especially from like other states, because I was worried that a volunteer would get COVID, like, or give a homeless person COVID. Like, everything, we didn't know what the fuck COVID was back then, so it was like shut it down right away.
We still don't, I don't think.
Yeah, right. So yeah, and then everything just took off from there. Someone ended up donating, when I got out of the military, someone donated a trailer to the project for us to make espresso coffee for customers, and so that could fund the outreach a little bit better, and so we could get donations, and so we could get more volunteers and all that, and then that grew into 3 trailers. So yeah, we just ended up growing, and it did. There now it's kind of more recently, a lot of stuff happened, unfortunately, where we had to shut down the coffee side of things. But we're transitioning it into a more healthy type outreach anyway. So it really all worked out. So now we do like healthy snacks, clothing, and food. And then we're also going to start teaching them yoga and meditation.
And that's under the Houston Outreach, right?
What was that?
Sorry, that's under the Houston Outreach, right?
Yes, Houston Outreach Team on Instagram. Yeah. We don't have a Facebook for it, but yeah, Instagram, Houston Outreach Team.
Easy, cool. We'll check that out, and So I've never done a nonprofit, and honestly, I've had people tell me I should move this whole thing to nonprofit, but I don't really care to redo my entire life at this point. So what, like, pros and cons? You've kind of been around some entrepreneurial stuff outside of the nonprofit world too. Having done it, what are your thoughts?
I think that you should work really hard and as an LLC, and then donate your money. Yeah, or donate your time to being a volunteer. I think starting a nonprofit, unless you're wanting to like open up like a homeless shelter, or there are definitely places for nonprofits, but I think more like on a bigger scale. But if you're just wanting to help people. I think that you should just work really hard, make good money, and help people with the money that you make. And I actually heard that from a motivational speaker about 5 years back while I was just starting the nonprofit. And I mean, no regrets though. I'm really glad I went the nonprofit way. It's just a lot more. You have to have like bylaws and you have to have a board. And I mean, I'm just trying to help people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not trying to like make it into this huge mass production. So for me, I'm like a kind of keep it simple kind of person. So for me, the nonprofit side was a little bit too much. It was like all this fluff when I'm literally just trying to give people clothing and food and talk to them and stuff. Like I'm not like trying to like grow this into like a huge business or anything. There was at one point I was like, okay, this is going so well. We could open up a brick and mortar coffee shop and then have free mental health therapy there. And like a little clothing rack where people could come in. But I would have had to partner with someone, and it's just logistically, it's a lot. There's a lot of like legal stuff you have to do. You have to get like people that are. It's a lot more than you would think. It's not
Yep.
just, oh yeah, let's open up a coffee shop and have mental health therapy and everything will be good. So it just kind of depends on how willing you are to really go that far.
Yeah. Well, and you said the whole partner thing. It's interesting because everybody says, all the entrepreneur quotes are like, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, like find a partner, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, there's so much survivor bias around partners because the only people who talk about how great partnerships are the people that have a really successful partner. And
Yeah.
I have seen, at least in the real estate space, the battleground is littered with partnerships that just disintegrated. So it's
Probably a lot like marriage. It's probably like a
oh
50-50 chance. Yeah.
yeah, it's
But I
like
mean, you saw that 50 chance it could work out really well and go really far, just like marriage. So it's how you look at it. It's a risk.
it's funny. I relate it to marriage when I talk to people about forming partnerships, and so
Okay.
that's a great accurate or analogy. But the only difference I would say is when you're getting into a marriage, you're aware of all the potential downsides and risks. You don't know what's going to happen, but people tread lightly. When people are getting into a partnership, they're like, "This is great. What could possibly go wrong?" And that's where I am like always very cautious to people. I'm like, dude, like if you guys haven't sat down with an attorney and drafted an LLC and operating agreement and everything and actually gone through like what happens when this falls apart and
Yeah.
outlined like conflict resolution and all of that, you're setting yourself up for failure because right now you're both great people, but if someone gets pissed, like it's the same as marriage. Your
Yes.
spouse is a wonderful person until they're not anymore, and at that point the claws come out, and if you don't have the right stuff in place in your operating agreement to protect you, you're getting yourself in trouble. And so I think partnerships are solid, and I've been in some really great ones. But man, I also was in one at one point where we didn't outline shit, and it was kind of a rough ending. So it is what it is. But
Yeah, that was the mistake I made. Not as far as a partnership, but as far as employees. Like because in a nonprofit, you do still have employees.
yeah,
Another thing with a nonprofit that you do start one is make sure you have a really good tax accountant because, I mean, it's really you don't pay taxes, but you have to make sure you have a really good bookkeeping service and a good accountant, or you're good at that yourself. Because we are not keeping taxes, so you're held liable for a lot of things. But yeah, so I had employees, and the employees were amazing. I mean, these people were top notch. Like she was a Navy vet, like everything was going good. And then I had to move. I decided to move. So they were doing so well, I let them run it. That
yeah,
was my mistake.
mm,
Not letting them running it wasn't a mistake, but I should have made a non-compete clause,
yep,
and that they can't take the business plan.
ah,
Um, because yeah, they ended up. Okay, so first of all, I told them like, hey, this is a nonprofit. I'm looking at the books and we're overpaying y'all, like
mm,
a lot. Like I was like, shoot, because I was doing like fundraising
it's
bonuses for them, but I didn't. They were doing almost so good at their job, and then it was starting to take away from helping the nonprofit grow.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even paying myself. Because they were running it, and I wasn't in the nonprofit to pay myself at all. Like the nonprofit is for me to help people. So, and they also needed.
It's a lot of work to lose money.
Their employees, they were doing really like a good job, so they get paid for their efforts. But when I told them that, then everything went super south. I kind of thought that they would like work with me and be like, okay, yeah, we can adjust a little bit here and to try to make sure, because we were paying them so much that we were going to have to shut everything down. And so I was very open and honest, like showing them the numbers, like, hey, I messed up. I overpaid y'all. I'm really sorry. Like, we got to adjust this. They ended up starting starting a GoFundMe using the Happy Beans logo, using the Happy Beans name, and raising money for the Happy Bean, but it would go to their account. Then they fired 2 people without me knowing, and then they got 2 more people to quit on with them, and then they quit. So that's 6 people that just are gone. And I live about an hour away from this place. I'm like a full-time, I have my full-time work that I do. I'm a mom, like, I can't just go and work full-time at this coffee shop now.
Absolutely.
So I'm like, fuck. So thankfully, we decided to shut it down. Someone else took over it. It's all good. And we still do the outreach. And that's what was always my heart anyways. I was excited to potentially grow the coffee shop into that brick and mortar that I was talking about. But, it didn't work out. A lot of hard lessons learned on that. And then now they opened up a coffee shop right down the street with all the same ingredients, all the same everything. Took my entire business plan. So that's a big lesson, I would say, for anybody. Like, you can trust people, but I should have gone down there at least once a week to check on them.
Yeah.
And make sure, because there was a big hole in the trailer. They never told me about that. There was a lot of stuff. I'm pretty sure they were stealing money, because I don't know how they had that much money to start their own coffee shop within a week. So
you were paying them too much.
Holy crap, it was a mess. What?
I said, obviously, because you were paying them too much. No, I'm just
well, that too. But how were they paying them? Like,
and they had a GoFundMe.
Loans.
What a
Maybe
mess.
I don't know. It's a lot of unknowns. It was definitely a stressful time for me. But I'm so thankful it happened, because now we're just purely focused. I sold the trailer and the thing, so I have a little account set aside for all the outreach going forward. So now we're covered, for a while, and we can do yoga, and we can bring them healthy snacks, and like it's just all. And I don't have to even focus on anything business related. I just do the outreach, which is all I wanted to do in the first place.
Yeah.
So
no, I think that's great, and I appreciate you sharing that. My attorney on multiple occasions has told me, essentially, here's how much money I could have saved you if you'd called me earlier. And one of those lessons was about exactly that, non-competes and all of that with a former employee in the original hiring documents. And basically, I didn't even think about it, because I was like, it was the same as like the partnership. It's like, oh, everything's great. Like, I want to trust this person. And it's the same idea as like a prenup. It's like, you can still trust them and protect yourself. And for me, it's less about the prenup and more about the reaction when you ask about it. It's like, if I bring up a prenup and you freak out on me, well, now I know. And if I bring up a prenup and you're like, yeah, of course, then all right, I probably don't even need this thing. And so
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. In fact, I want to say I just saw, I think it was Layla Hormozy was talking about Alex asked her for a prenup. She was like, yeah, I don't care, whatever, signed it. And then like the day before they got married, he shredded it in front of her. Was like, I just wanted to make sure this wasn't a,
Aww,
and I'm like,
cool.
yeah, I'm like, I get that. But yeah, anyway. All right. So when you left the military, did you have a plan? Was Happy Bean your plan? What was the,
yes.
You had a life before, so.
Yes. Happy Bean was my plan. I was not engaged, but I had a baby with a guy that I was in love with. And our plan was to get out and do the Happy Bean, and hopefully he'd get a job and all this. And so we moved to Lake Jackson, which is where he lives. Lake Jackson, Texas. It's a super small town. I'm not a small town girl. I learned that real quick. So yeah, things didn't go as planned with our relationship. You know how that goes. And I had invested everything into the Happy Bean. We were living with his dad when we first got out. I had sold my car because we just shared his truck. I sold my car and put that all into the Happy Bean. I literally, like, any money I had, I put all into the Happy Bean.
Yeah.
So when we broke up, I had a 6-month-old daughter. I had $0 in my bank account. I had no car. And I had, my family lives in Seattle. And I'm pretty stubborn. I definitely could have reached out to ask my family for help. But I'm just not really, like, I felt like I was just going to do this myself. I'm a mom now. I need to just figure this out. I should have, looking back, reached out and asked for help. But, so yeah, I actually started stripping because I was like, you know what? If I look for an actual job, I won't be able to run. I'm still living in Lake Jackson at this point. I won't be able to run the coffee shop. The coffee shop's not, we're brand new. You know, you don't make any money at all. I couldn't pay myself it. Like, there was no money coming in like that. It was just covering the outreach and that's it. I didn't even have enough to pay employees at that point.
Yep.
So yeah, I started stripping and still worked at the coffee shop, kept it really on the down low. And I was fucking miserable, honestly. It was the worst job I've ever had.
Interesting.
Like, literally. Yeah. And I mean, the dancing part I love. Like, I actually loved learning how to pole dance, and I still to this day, well, I fell once, so I'm kind of like a little scared. But I'm going to get another pole, and I'm going to make sure to screw it to the ceiling so it doesn't fall over. And I'm going to get back into it. But I love the dancing part. It was so fun, so creative. But like dealing with drunk men, like, no, I could not do it. It was fucking horrible.
Yeah.
You're so disgusting. This is not it.
I've heard that.
I was able to pay my first month's rent. I was able to get a car and pay the car, and I just kept doing that. And then one of the girls told me about online work, and I had already heard about like OnlyFans and stuff too. So I started doing that, and then I was like, dude, I'm making way more money. Well, about the same, but like
way less drunk men. Way less.
I don't have to deal with anybody doing anything crazy. I don't have to deal with drunk guys, and I can still be like creative and like sexual, and I'm a very sexual person, so it's like good to get my sexual energy out. And yeah, so I went full send on all that, and I was like surprised on like how well that took off. Like I didn't even start with OnlyFans. I just started with selling pictures of me in lingerie as screensavers.
Oh, there you go.
On Instagram. And I think I did like 20 or 30,000 just in 1 month. Just on that. Like no OnlyFans involved, just screensavers. So I was like, okay, wow. You know, I think this is really something here. Finally, like
that's a good product sample.
Yeah. And it was fun. Like I got to talk to people, and I didn't have to deal with like gross people like trying to touch me or nothing like that. So I mean, a lot of people really hate on it, but I'm personally so thankful that happened to me, because I would not be in the situation I am now, and my family like wouldn't be able to provide for them the way that I do if I didn't start that. So
I would only hate on that in the same way that I hate on the girls that raise money in the real estate world because they got fake boobs and they're able to be like, you want to invest in my, and I'm like, I can't do that. It's not as effective for me.
I don't know. You're considered like a bear, so I think you got a lot going for you.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want. I want to start an OnlyFans and market to gay men. That's
you would do good.
I look like Jason Kelsey, so you know that's what I've been getting told lately. So there we go. I've got my avatar. I'll just
yes, that's awesome.
I'm gonna go. That's my new side hustle. Gay Jason Kelsey on OnlyFans. Perfect.
I'll help you. I'll help you with all the marketing strategies and stuff.
I mean, my brother has a husband, so it's in there somewhere, I guess, right?
Oh yeah, no. I mean, and a lot of straight men actually do it that aren't gay, but they just market themselves to gay men. So there's nothing. I mean, I don't know. I'm like the least shame person. Like, I think I have to live such a full life to really understand that like everybody is fucking up or doing something immoral in one way or another. So
Agreed.
who the fuck am I to like put down or look down on anybody else for anything that they do? Like,
And generally, the most judgmental people are the ones who have the most to hide.
yeah,
It's the whole projecting thing for sure. When I was
100%.
actually, I probably shouldn't go down that rabbit hole. I won't say that. We can off recording. I'll give a great example of that, but on recording,
Okay.
I'm gonna behave for now because I don't need drama in my life,
Yeah.
and I'm not gonna call someone out like that. But let's see. I love that, and thank you for being open and honest about it. It's funny. I follow this girl on Instagram. I met her at I want to say it was 10x Growth Con with Grant Cardone a while back, and her Instagram is called Racks to Riches, and she's a like an Instagram coach for strippers, and I've followed her forever. She doesn't even show, I mean, every now and then it's like her on like a pole, like exercising, but like she's very appropriate. But it's literally like strategy for strippers on how to milk more money out of, how to
Yeah.
get more doing this, how to do this, how to handle drunk whatever, and I've always
It's
found it so
sales.
fascinating. I'm like, this is such a unique side of sales that I would have never even treated that way. And some of the stuff she's saying, I'm like, damn, she's right. That's exactly how that goes. But like, I've only ever been on this side of it. And so I mean, I've never been in a establishment like that in my life. Why would I?
Never, never.
Yeah, there's definitely not a place in Springfield that is known for being the best steak in town. And that's, of course, why everyone
Dude,
goes.
I'm down. Let's go. That sounds awesome.
It's literally, I joked with someone last night. I was taking a girl out for drinks, and I was like, we had agreed on a place, and then I was like, hey, just to confirm, 5 at Centerfolds, and she's like, and her response was literally, I hear they have the best steak in town. And I was like, yeah, someone
Yeah.
gets around, but
That's a winner. I like her.
it's not where we had agreed to
Well,
go, but I'm glad she
have you
didn't.
seen that movie that's fuck, I forget the name. I just watched it too. But it's about a stripper who ended up going into pharmaceutical sales.
I have not.
And dude, she killed it. I mean,
Yeah.
I
Oh,
really
I'm
think
sure the
that
sales side. I mean,
oh yeah.
especially, men do really well in sales because they've got the like aggressive, confident personality. But if you get a woman who knows and understands sales and is confident enough to like understand the dynamic of like, especially if it's like person to person and they,
Yeah.
you like touching someone's shoulder or like the small things, like you will just destroy everyone in
Yeah.
sales. It's men will just melt.
I've met some
It's not
badass
fair.
women in sales, that's for sure. And
Yeah.
and like for me, the OnlyFans thing has been a fun business because it's super dynamic. Like I mean, if I could turn my camera around and show you guys like the whole setup, like you can do a whole setup. There's a lot of creative things you can do. You're your own production, you're your own marketing team, you're your own customer service team, your sales team, like it's literally a business, but it's just all from my house. I only have to work 2 to 4 hours a day. The rest of the time I get to spend with family, which I'm sorry, but I am not going to go spend 12, 15-hour days like I was doing and just
Make
barely
less.
get by and never see my family, stressed out as fuck all the time. I'm sorry. There's
Yeah.
just nothing like that would ever convince me. To me, family is everything, and that's what means the most to me in life. And if this, which I freaking love my job, I think it's the best job ever. I literally love it. Like, it's so fun. Why would I do anything else?
I
Yeah,
agree. Well, and
it's
so
awesome.
I'm glad you said that because one of the questions I was going to ask here, I was going to ask how you got into OnlyFans, and we answered that, but I was going to ask you, from a business model perspective, how much of it you can automate because, and obviously, if you're only spending 2 to 4 hours a day, it's not a ton that you have to physically do every day. I mean, I'd imagine you answer some messages, but you can probably. My guess is you can automate a
The
lot of the.
beginning is hard.
Okay.
The beginning, it's literally exactly like any business.
Yeah.
You have to build a following. You have to build customer relations. You have to be on the grind. Like, oh my gosh, when I first started, I was working a lot. I mean, I was on my phone like probably at least 8 hours a day, just sending people like, hey, did you want a screensaver? Hey, like, I'm doing screensavers now, and like talking to people, how are you? Like, I'm good. talking to them. You're basically a therapist. You know, you got to listen to people's problems. You do a lot of these things called one-on-one video calls, which is you just take a video call and you talk to them or whatever they want, and you can do more. But a lot of times my video calls is me being a therapist. Like, I swear to God. Like, I'm just talking to them, hearing their life story, just seeing what's up, how they're doing. Like, I genuinely do care about the people that I work with. Like, they're real humans just like me. They're there for me too. When I have a bad day, I tell them, you know, I'm having a pretty shitty day today. And, you know, they're there for me just like I'm there for them. It's all business, yes, but it's a really cool way to connect with people. And I mean, I don't really think sex is bad. I grew up very Christian, so it was always programmed in me to think sex was bad, and that fear-based religion. So it's still a little bit in me, you know, when you're raised like that, you're kind of like, oh shoot, like, is this bad? But it's really only bad because that religion says it is. I personally don't think it is. I think it's really great for people to connect with each other sexually. Just connect in general, like, is a good thing. So yeah.
I grew up very similarly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cool to hear you say that. So I don't know if you know who Steve Sims is. He wrote the book "Go for Stupid" and "Blue Fishing," and he's a badass like biker dude from London who, you know, he's a friend of mine, but he's a big speaker, and he does these speakeasies once or twice a year, and they're like invite only, and you don't know anything. You know, like the city, and you show up, and then he does all this cool stuff, and you have no idea what you're getting into. And he did one a year or two, 3 years ago in Reno, where they like toured Elon Musk's big battery factory on day one, and then on day two they went to the bunny ranch. And he's like I had two pastors with me that like refused to go in. You know, he's like, you never know who you're gonna have with you. He's like, because it's just a hodgepodge of people that he invites. And anyway, he said, you know, they got like a full tour of the establishment from like a business perspective, and they got to talk to all the girls. And he said the most interesting thing about it was that every girl they talked to said probably 20 to 40% of their clients actually have sexual relations with them. He was like, the vast majority, over half, just want to talk and just, you know, and it was,
you're just paying a hot therapist.
Yeah, he was like, it's very eye opening to hear how many of these people just want a place where they can discuss things openly without judgment, and how, you know, a lot of men and people in general don't have that. So it's
and then
interesting.
People are like, oh, but you're taking advantage of vulnerable, weak, sad, lonely men. And I'm like, no, they're paying me for their time to be their therapist, basically. And
you're not forcing anything.
I'm not going to do that for free.
No, it's like, an open transaction.
If you're saying that a therapist is taking advantage of, like, therapists, those people are sad, vulnerable, but it's okay to pay a therapist, but it's not okay to pay a sex worker. I've never understood.
I would much rather have a therapist that looked like you and was flirty than a sex therapist, or than a therapist that looks like some haggled old man who's like,
and boobs solve so much. You know, you just look at boobs and you're happy, whether you're a man or a woman.
Well said. On that note, so I love the business model side of this, but okay, so you go from OnlyFans, you know, and that was a roller coaster from what I've seen a little bit, you know, and then you are you're a yogi. I think that's the official term. So you just started, or you're about to start as an instructor. You just got your, I don't understand the certifications. Talk me through this journey.
Yes. Yeah. So I am bipolar. So a big trait of being bipolar is you kind of go all in on things. Like, a lot of bipolar people are pretty successful because you just have this determined drive when you're manic that is like unstoppable, and you're just like, I'm gonna fucking do it. Once my mind's put to it, I'm doing it. And that's how I was. That's how I am. And that's how I was becoming big time with sex work. I was like, okay, this is it. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna fucking become a porn star. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And I just started losing myself in it. And delving too deep into that world where it was becoming my entire identity, which being a sexual person is a big part of me, yes, but it's not everything. Like, I have a lot more layers to me than just being a sexual person. I am pretty business minded. I am like really, really outgoing. I love people. I love helping people. I'm really into fitness and health. So I was like, you know what? Like, I'm really starting to lose myself in all this, and I want to try to go a little bit of a different direction. I never want to completely give up sex work because, first of all, financially, it's kind of a trap. Like, it is really hard to get out of sex work financially.
I saw a quote yesterday that said fast money is the most dangerous trap for young women. And I was
Yeah.
like, that's a very
And that's
interesting
why
way
I
to put
don't
it.
ever
But
recommend like young women to get into it. I definitely think it should be for women like who've lived a lot of life and really just maybe want to do it for fun, a little extra side money. I don't think it should really be anybody's like strict career because it
yeah,
is kind of like a trap for that. And for me, it works because I like the job. But if it was a trap for somebody and then they end up realizing they don't like it, and then, it could just cause a lot of problems for them.
yeah,
So I never I know I say I like my job, but I hate glamorizing it because it is not for everybody. And there's a lot of dangers to sex work. And yeah, I just don't think sex work, like that should not be a person's go-to
yeah,
at all. So yeah, yoga, I love it. It is like definitely my passion. It's helped me so much with my injuries from the Marine Corps. I have a lot of nerve damage on my right side, and I would get migraines where I couldn't even get out of bed.
yeah.
I can barely like move my back sometimes when it's flared up. It's fucked. So I started doing yoga actually to try to help that. And dude, like, I swear, like, I barely ever like get a flare up anymore. It's like once a month now when I'm super stressed out, or if I start drinking alcohol a lot. But like I was getting flare ups like every other day where like I was like barely even able to work.
Yeah.
So yoga is a savior. Like I swear every single person should try yoga. It sucks. Like I hated it at first. It's so hard. It's uncomfortable. You have to sit there in silence and think about your thoughts and stuff. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like put on some music, dude. Like I need to fucking move. I need to lift. Like I need to get my adrenaline going. Like what is this weird soft music with you closing your eyes? Why is everybody saying namaste? Like it was like weird for me. I was like, this is a cult. Like I gotta get the fuck out. And then I just kept doing it because they said like it really does help with injuries and stuff. And then I fell in love with it. I drank the Kool-Aid. And then now I'm becoming a yoga instructor and I'm obsessed with it. And I want to teach other people how to do yoga to help their bodies and their mind. So yeah, it's my jam. It's like, just like I was all in with sex work, I would say like I'm all in with yoga now. So
Yeah. And you've,
yeah.
I mean, the transformation over the last year from a health perspective outside looking in, I mean, I know you went vegan and you ditched for the most part cosmetics and, you've been talking a lot about that journey and it's been cool. I mean, you look like there was a point not to be, I won't say like there was never a point where I was like, who's that? But there was a point following you on Instagram where I was like, man, I don't like, it doesn't look like she's enjoying this as much as she's saying. Like
Yeah.
just looked like you were going through a little bit of a rough patch, and you have like over the last year, it's like night and day. Like totally. I mean, you're in shape, you're happy, you're no makeup. It's been cool to watch the journey, and it's I think that anyone who watches or follows you, I think that's just a cool message because people get so wrapped up in like the more is better and all this other stuff, and I don't know that that's always the case.
Yeah, I was like I mean, you are what you're around. I mean, we learned that from the military. I don't think any of us are really proud of like how we treated others in the military, how much we drank in the military, how much we like, we're not proud of a lot of things we did in the military, but that's just the culture.
Yeah,
And sex work has a culture too. I mean, everybody gets the biggest and the best. You think that you have to keep up with the Joneses to succeed.
yeah,
And I was losing myself. I was like spending hundreds of dollars on my makeup and my hair and my nails and my toes and my tan and my boobs and plastic surgery. And it's like, where does it end? Where do you just be okay with how you look as a person and who you actually are? And yoga, honestly, going through my yoga certification is what made me click.
yeah.
Like that I was like really losing myself big time.
I love it. Well, cool. I know we're we're probably getting close on time, but I wanted to just at least touch on, you just recently have started talking about a financial freedom journey. What sparked the journey there? Because obviously you're making the income to make it happen. But like you said, you can get sucked up into the expense side of the game as well, and spend it all. So I love when people get that spark. I'm just curious where it came from.
Yeah, so I mean, it came from when I still had no money. I was making the money and I still had no money. That's where it came from. I'm like, and then my boyfriend, I'm like, dude, like, how the fuck? He's like, dude, like, think about how much money you spend on your hair and your nails and stuff. And I'm like, I know. And then the yoga thing just hit it even more. I'm like, all right. And then I started like realizing, like, damn, like, I can actually save some money. And then finances have always been like a cool thing for me. But yeah, I saw like stuff that you post, and I think we started listening to this podcast called Get Rich. What's it called? Get Rich Habits.
Rich Habits.
So yeah, we listened to that too. And I was just like, okay, you know what? I think I can do this. I really, really want like my family to be set up for success. Like I want my family to not have to worry financially, if possible. So yeah, that's where it all started.
I love it. That's great. And I'm here to help in any way as you go along, but it's fun to watch the journey. And I think you're on the right path with all that. So,
and your book.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We got to plug the book.
That's right.
The book is great, especially like I wish I would have read that book when I was in the military. Yes, that one. Yeah. Yay.
It's not too bad. I wish I'd read it when I was in as well. That's why I wrote it, because I was like, man, I made all kinds of fucking mistakes while I was in the military financially. It's amazing. You talk about being proud of what you do in the military. I did that first 4 years. I made pretty good money deployed. I didn't have anything to spend it on, but I bought truck, rifles, tattoos, spent money on booze, women, protein. It was all gone. There was nothing to show for any of it by the end of that year. I get it. but
it's okay. I think it's kind of a lot like diets in a way. Like you have your time where you just eat whatever, and you realize you start feeling like crap and icky, and you have to kind of feel that icky feeling and like of overindulgence. You have to feel that feeling to realize, okay, I need to fucking get my shit together, start eating right, start spending less money, and fucking do this thing.
Absolutely.
So, cool.
All right. Well, I got 4 questions. Well, the numbers are all messed up. 5 questions that I ask every guest. So the first one is, name a trait that you think sets service members up for success after the military.
Name a trait.
Or, habit, whatever.
Humbleness.
Ooh.
Let go of the ego, amigo. Yeah. Especially for the guys. I think if they go out in the civilian world and they're humble, realize that like you being a Marine is cool. But it's really, that's not going to carry you. So you got to fucking lose the ego and get to work.
I like it. That's a good one. All right. What's the dumbest thing you've ever purchased?
Shit. My butt. Because I end up losing it anyways. And then now I'm regaining it from muscle. So if I would have just done that from the first place. That's
the best answer I've ever heard on the show. Usually people are like, oh, I bought this really stupid TV when I was a Lance Corporal. That's awesome. What about the best purchase you've ever made, or smartest?
My butt? No, I'm just joking. Not for real, kind of.
There's an ROI.
Yeah. No, I would say hopefully this house, if it all goes through.
That's actually the most common answer I get, is somebody talking about a property or a house they bought. Yeah. So I think you're right on with that. Let's see. Somebody listening to this show wants to make more money instead of just listening to another podcast. What do you think they should do?
I think just do it. Nike just do, honestly. Like with the nonprofit, I just did it. I did not know what the fuck I was doing. I just started. Like, people get so caught up on like making a huge business plan and got to follow it exactly how it is. It's like, sorry, bro, but your business plan is probably not going to go anywhere. It's like, it's good to have some sort of idea, yes, but just fucking go. Like, stop thinking about it and just do it.
I think, yeah, I agree. I think one of the things when I tell people, I'm like, find something you're passionate about and build something there. And I think you did that in all three. You were passionate about, helping people with the Happy Bean Project and the Houston Outreach team.
Which we still do every 2 weeks, by the way.
Oh, there you
I don't
go.
want anybody to think that we don't do that anymore. So please, and if you want to come volunteer with a local OnlyFans girl, you can come serve the homeless.
There's that sales side coming out.
Yeah.
You obviously didn't like the stripping, but you were passionate about the other side, and so you went to OnlyFans, and then passionate about yoga, went there, and so I think you're right on the money there. If you're passionate about something, you just dive in. You'll be able to be successful. But yeah, the last question I always ask is just where can people find out more about you? So yeah, plug the Houston Outreach team, what you guys are doing, and where people can go and give you a follow and enjoy the journey.
So it's at the Houston. Let me double check. I'm pretty sure it's at the Houston Outreach team. You got to make sure you check the.
Your acronym is THOUGHT.
Yeah, how funny. That works out perfectly. Yeah, the Houston Outreach team. There Perfect. It is. Bam.
Awesome. Well, Abby Rose, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been fun. These are all different types of entrepreneurial endeavors that I haven't gotten to talk about really on the show, and it's fun for me to learn about. So I appreciate it.
Yes, and thank you so much for your help. Seriously, you've helped me a lot. So
anytime. Have a great day.